I do need to take a moment to thank our supporters. We received support from the PTC administration, our support staff, the English department faculty, and from our donors who are listed on the back of your programs. This series is only possible through the generous support of the people and organizations listed there. And in your program, you will find a pink survey form. By the end of our evening tonight, if you would fill out that survey form and turn it in as you're leaving, this is data that we collect and use to help write for grants to support our writers that we bring to campus. We have our first major grant this year, and so that becomes crucial, and your help will be appreciated. You'll also notice there's a green form because everyone knows that green stands for money. And if you like what you hear and would like to help the series out, you can hand in a donation tonight as well, or send it in. And we also finally have a way to take donations online. That information is in your program, not on the green form. We are really lucky tonight to be hearing from two writers from two different MFA programs in the state. And for those students in the audience, the MFA is one of the terminal graduate degrees you could earn in creative writing. It is the Master of Fine Arts degree. The University of Arkansas Fayetteville has an MFA program, and the University of Central Arkansas has an MFA program, and we have writers from both of those here tonight to share their work with us and to answer any of your questions. I'm pleased to first introduce Megan Blankenship, who is currently pursuing an MFA in poetry as a Walton Family Fellow at the University of Arkansas. Megan has received awards for her writing, and her poems appear in numerous national journals. She is also the author of the bi-weekly column, Megan's Musings in the White River Current. Does anyone who's not related to Megan or a friend of Megan know where the White River Current is published? Calico Rock, Arkansas, Megan's hometown. So we actually have a home state writer with us here tonight. You can tell from her poems that Megan grew up in the Ozarks. On subjects ranging from roadkill to blackberries, her poetry plays with the speech and stories of the hill people she comes from, as well as the subjects of heritage and religion, drawing on the lives and sayings of her father and grandfather. You'll hardly find a poem of hers without at least one old codger talking about a Bible story. Hard at work on an intergenerational multi-voice collection about her family, Megan remembers her father's advice. Go at it like you're killing snakes. The best advice I've heard for writers yet. So please help me welcome Megan to the mic.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Sandy, and Pulaski Tech and the Big Rock Reading Series. I'm really delighted. Okay, so I'm going to start with some old man poems, some Steve poems. This is a series I was working on last year, and they're all monologues from the voice of a character named Steve, who is very heavily based on my grandfather, Steve. So, on the nature of prayer. Steve said, "You couldn't grow a chickweed patch a hose height from the ground, though hoeing helps. You've got to get down in with your hands, got to raw your skin, get on your knees like you're praying out there. And you might be at that if hoping counts as praying, which your mother says it don't. Don't tell her I said so, but I believe I've hoped sundry things into happening that couldn't count as chance, like her marrying me. Nothing so good comes to a man but that the Lord detects the stoic cry and intervenes. Now listen, if the Lord don't look down and honor the rough hope of bending over the ground he cursed and filling up your nose with that cursed dirt, well, he don't know a thing about telling an earnest heart from a prodigal." On roadkill, Steve said, "I'm so tired of looking at roadkill, I believe I'll walk. As a young man horseback, I could say I'd eaten of everything I'd killed, except in the odd armadillo and old Ruby, who it fell to me one awful morning to shoot when she drug herself up half froze and bested by coyotes. There's no honor in dying by the tire, nor in the secret counsels of buzzards laid open by the road. even a shot dog ends better. I fear to sit at my table in glory, spread rich with every life I took in passing, every squirrel, rabbit, sparrow, every June bug ever squashed in my hurry, fried up with gravy, a wry recompense for owning the earth. Excuse me. On the blackberry, Steve said, "Now I wouldn't call it a sin to eat a blackberry on a July afternoon, but I'll allow there's danger in that dark fruit, sun hot, sweet and addled, swole up so fat the vine might have been snake bit. You break the skin of one and hope the rapture don't come at the biting down moment. Black juice and your own thorn-drawn blood mingled on your tongue. That taste is the sun behind a woman's shape walking, her long skirt brushing the grass tops. Boy, don't you wonder. I learned intemperance from the blackberry, the skinny dipping berry, the summer vine, the last hope, a sly wink from above." On frogs. Steve said, "What's coming for us over that dark line, where the hill meets the sky, black on starry black, but that tinge of a glow from somebody's porch lights? Wonder why they're still awake. Listen to them frogs sing about a rain wind, swishing down their creek beds and scummy ponds. Sing about the night damp that calls them up. I burnt a brush pile, and they came hopping out like a plague, too small to make a sound in the grass, their brothers cooking in a blaze of briars. Have frogs got lightning legends? Are they singing to someone when they drink the dew? Do they revere the heron that pecks, the bass that snatches? You watch that tree line. We'll worship what wounds us, and the light that keeps it away, and the days and the land that spread it out and mask its fearsome face." Okay, so this is an elegy for a chicken that I had. I've been trying for a long time to keep chickens, and it's mostly disastrous. So I have chickens right now, but one of my recent chickens got sick. So this is called Elegy for a Beloved Hen, taken as the weather changed in September. Patsy, you were an incorrigible hen, waking the house at dawn, chattering, greedy, with the scraps I threw out, every crumb and potato skin, yours to eat or share as you pleased. I had half a mind to trade you for another, more straight-laced animal. But an orthodox deer, the most daring, you approached the dog, who I thought posed your biggest threat. You hunkered down and let me stroke your back. My heart turned over when I saw you this morning curled pitifully, stiff under the coop. It isn't nature's dictum that animals die warm in bed, but prone, solitary, as really we all do. This is the way some babies used to go, quickly, in the wee hours, taken by a baffling force that steals in and out before you thought. 100 years ago, I might have known that larger ache by now. A chicken in a shoebox is neither remarkable nor tragic. Patsy, I can have a sense of humor about this. Your sisters remain healthy, and now I see the cruel meaning of pecking order. Loretta has replaced you as leader of the coop and scratch, and I have already begun to think of you this way, so far down in the order of things. God, fathers, mothers, babies, dogs, and someplace lower, the chicken. That was pretty sad. Okay, this is a pretty old poem that I wrote about a woman I used to work with. I worked at this tiny diner in my hometown, Calico Rock, and have you guys heard of this phenomenon of the liar's table? I think it used to be more common when you could smoke in restaurants, but it's like the round table where old retired men would go and drink coffee and smoke all morning and tell lies to each other. So I was pretty fascinated by this, and I got a job at this place. And my boss was this short little woman named Louise. So this is in her voice. Okay. The liar's table. And to think, I used to ride with that fatty Leonard over to the Tally Ho to dance on Fridays. It's no fun thing to drink beer with a county judge can't even keep the roads graded. But that's what Leonard thought. These old men stink of a morning. I guess they're mostly widowers and drunks with nobody to make them wash. And those skinny sweet cigars don't help, but Lord knows we all need our coffee. Louise, they holler, bring us some of that coconut pie, but only if you was the one made it. Louise, empty this ashtray, honey. And I will, but I step out back to smoke alone, let 'em yodel like a pack of mutts. It's been 20 years since I had any ass to speak of, but it doesn't stop 'em making a pass sometimes. I don't mind long as they leave $1 under their cup. They get less kicks than me. I'm in early most days but Sundays. Seems nobody but me can make a biscuit in this town, and the younger girls couldn't keep hot coffee in a cup that filled itself. Where's the filters, Louise? They whine like bad breaks. I just find them myself and get done before the flies get thick in the afternoon. Get me a free omelet besides. It's lucky I never married. Men just get old and rambunctious, start to smell salty and require constant feeding. I know about that at least. And my babies never knew the difference between a daddy and a liar anyway. But I sure do hate to see him go. Reb's chair's been empty 3 mornings. I heard he died crazy and left his pickup to a 9-fingered kid of his sister's, but I expect he was just saving himself the trouble of making up stories about 12-point bucks and Texas women, moved on to a quieter fold. Song on the fiddle. By the redbud tree, dusty feet, sweaty necks, maple wood perched on a skinny shoulder, stutter and flow of rhythm, silver needles in the creek, tithed back by the calico bluff and cheap stars, poured it all. These days were determined a good while ago. We are as much landscape as the wild sweet onions, the jonquils on the bank. Everything is headed down, down with a careless laugh into honeybee spit. The riddle in the glance of a dancing bow off the E string twangs asunder in the chest and the night blooms. Okay, this is an imitation. I took a great class with Jeff Brock on imitation, poetic imitation. So this is after Jorge Luis Borges, a great Spanish poet. I don't know Spanish, but I tried. So this is called Matthew 26:74, which is the verse in the Bible where Peter hears the rooster crow, and like Jesus has said, you're going to deny me 3 times before you hear the rooster crow, and he says, no, we'll never do that, and he does. And he's stricken with guilt. So that's what this is about. Matthew 26:74. Another station, another platform. At my feet, the narrow cleft. Cigarettes, ticket stubs, ringing iron rails. Flashing red and yellow light, far sirens. Hesitant daylight yawning through a cluttered airspace, rent by the cock's crow. From the unseen dimension, from the dark center of my heart, a soft voice pronounced what I did not know I knew. Sky scrolls, sidewalks, major keys and minor, the key of E flat, 10 fingers to play it and 10 toes, broth, the flame beneath, great heights to look from and see birds flying below, glint of the river like a knife in the canyon, borrowing, returning, turning gentle fathers, a familiar breathing, a linen dowry, perhaps a eulogy, a tossing in of dirt, limestone, verses unmetered, dull blades, the wheel, blue, your sister's hair, sandstone, petrified red oak, the cross, the cross, the cross, look away, daughter, turn your face and go home. I have a little bit of a religious theme going. So this is about those guys you see sometimes by the bars in whatever town where you live, holding up signs saying like, you're gonna go to hell and stuff like that. So I wrote a poem about them. This is called Fundamentalist Sign Guys on the Corner of West and Dixon. Take a drink of water. Ooh. The pleasures you seek are destroying your soul. Has a nice ring to it, and sure enough, I feel a twinge of guilt, having just partaken in a heady pour of something heady and weighing the temptation of another. My poor Baptist heart thrills at fear Jesus. Here is something I am doing right. Though fear is mild for the notion that I can't go back to Yellowstone, where the crust thins and I could fall in, be burned to nothing but a finger bone the earth spits back. A fiery end waits for those who won't believe, which should have been among the signs. It's just another mark I carry like the flinching pain in the small of my back from falling off a tire swing at 8 and landing on a rock. I love to drink. This town, its glasses, faces, stony briar glades and copperheads and ticks. I love the sight of the Tetons, in creative debt to nothing but their own insistence that they stay. And I love every lonely man who's lain beside me every blessed gasp. Damned by these and all the gifts of sense that swell and break the heart like a wave that fills your mouth with salt and sand. I'm a glutton for my mother's sorrow, her prayers, abashing me from east to west and back to Arkansas again, where Jesus lives and breathes and watches from the faces of the overalled and bearded men so kindly come on Friday night, bearing signs to warn me of my soul's dilapidation, my body's nigh immolation. Sorry, Mother. Oh, here's one called Faith. This one's called Faith, which is my middle name. That's actually true. Faith. I saw a single crow on a fence post, and I saw in another state a crow feather propped up against a stone step in a dry creek bed, fresh black, quivering though there was no breeze. Getting from one to another of the same barren places I have also gone, but always just ahead of me, my shadow familiar flying east at sundown. The crow is rasping prophecies now in one of the pines out there. Might mean blood or might mean rain. I asked for both. Okay, this is another imitation of Seamus Heaney. And it's about being in Wales. I was really fortunate to spend 10 days in Wales last summer, which is just covered in like historical and mythical markers. So this is about a piece of a pilgrim's trail, like kind of, I don't know, it's really long, but I just walked like a mile of it. And you come to a rock face and there's a cross carved into it. It's been like since the 800s or something. And then down in the churchyard, there's a tree that appears to be bleeding. It just has red sap kind of coming out of it all the time, so it looks kind of weird. And the legend is that a monk was hanged from it, and the tree is mourning that. So that's what these are about. Maybe you can tell. I don't know. Wonders. 1, Pilgrim's Cross. Falter and rejoin. Grit pace to top the browning rise, and eye it out of gray. Not yet disabused of holiness insofar as the kneeling groove stays polished. Play at it, bend, lick the 1,000 years' belief. Lip to stone, sweat to stone your bread. 2, leading you. Think you are the tree from which the hanged dangles like a dry clod on a cowtail tassel, near enough your trunk to extend a black stump, caress. Eyes rolled to icy white, admire your expansive green, warming yard, stones not yet disarranged by time, the breadth of your silencing coverlet. Pitted executioner, wouldn't you weep? Open your veins, cursed with long life and guilt, and pilgrims come to taste your blood. Okay, 2 more. Morning dove. In June, we waited in the shallows of the white feet so cold I thought we might get stuck if we stayed like that. Turned to other stones, the water makes its way around. I took you for a bird, a little thing warbling. Play me a song your father loves, I might have said. He told me to put a rock in my mouth. He told me to take my clothes off. Why do I always do what you say and not what you want? I've heard you can hold a rock on your tongue to fool you out of thirst a while. I've heard this river used to be warm, full of mussels, bass, and crawdads. I know it's time that petrifies not cold. Your voice would reach clear to the top of that ridge, break me as your body has. I took a tiny stone and swallowed it. I wished a flood, a river whale, a sleeping mud turtle whose back we stood on. Any impossible, monstrous force would rise and take us under. All right, last one. On considering the lily. Steve said, down at the mouth of Mill Creek, Calvin Jones planted a garden in the same spot 75 springs in a row. Lived on sweet potatoes all winter. We used to find zucchini squash in paper sacks, waiting on our porch in July and August. Calvin thought he heard the angels singing when it was just him, and guessed they were shyer than the word let on. It wasn't a hallelujah so much as a sober why spreading over the green beans. This he told me on his tin porch while a black butterfly contemplated a dry breeze from his hat rim. Thank you.
Thanks, Megan. Those were wonderful. I'd like to introduce our second reader, Stacey Margaret Jones. Stacey is a student at the Arkansas Writers MFA program at UCA and has earned her master's degree from Syracuse University and her bachelor's from Northern State University in Aberdeen, South Dakota. So here we have someone who is not from here, but who is now rooted here and entrenched here. We'll get a slightly different perspective. She's published essays and fiction in several local publications and has published in actually all three genres, fiction, essays, and poetry, in national literary magazines. Stacey reads and writes almost constantly for money and for fun, which I just think is lovely. For money and for fun. It's as it should be. Though what she's really trying to do is figure out why in the world people do the things they do. She spent 2014 trying to end her obsessive-compulsive ruminating, but her curiosity about other people's minds has to vent somewhere. So she speculates on the page with fictive people. As Stacey says, bless their hearts. Help me welcome her to the mic.
Thank you, Sandy, and thank you all for coming tonight. This story I wrote for my fiction workshop for Dr. John Vanderslice this year, and he's also heard me read it at another venue, so he knows it quite well. He could probably recite it for you. This is set in South Dakota at a college, so I'll share it with you tonight. Indian jokes. Marvin is cute, Kim breathed to Jackie, her roommate, as they left the student union. You know I can't comment, Jackie said. Jason, Kim answered on cue, drawing out the syllables. Jackie mentioned Jason in 1 out of every 2 sentences. I'm not saying that he's cute for you, I'm saying he's cute in a general way. For me, Kim thought. It was late September, and the South Dakota summer air was turning toward fall. The campus's many trees were starting to turn, and though it was still 4 p.m. and sunny, both Jackie and Kim wore light jackets. They had been roommates for about 5 weeks. They hadn't grown up together or known each other well, but they had chosen to room together during their junior year of high school when they met at All-State Chorus in Sioux Falls. Is he smart? Kim asked. You're such a grade snob, Jackie laughed. Every time you describe someone, the first thing you include is if they're smart or not. I do? Yes, and don't tell me how you describe me. I'm not a genius like you. I'm not a genius. I'm compulsive about school. There's a difference, a big difference. Kim's algebra homework wasn't going to do itself, but she was pretty sure she couldn't do it either. Funny name, though, Jackie said, turning to look back at the building. Kim knew she was talking again about Marvin, sounding vaguely negative. Maybe it's a reservation thing? Is he from a reservation? Kim asked. Marvin was Jackie's friend, well, a friend of a friend's. He was a senior anthropology major, tall, outgoing, athletic. While they had been standing in the student center talking to him, he'd said hi to at least 10 different people passing through on their way to the bookstore or the parking lot. He's Indian, so I guess. Jackie was examining her cuticles. I want to get some new nail polish and paint my fingernails before Jason gets here Friday night. What color does he like? Kim asked, though as soon as she said it, she regretted it. She didn't like Jason, a senior in high school in Jackie's hometown on the Minnesota border, but she didn't want her criticism to irritate Jackie. He likes pinks the best, I think. Jackie stopped in the path. I'm going to the bookstore to see what they have. Are you coming? Kim let her go off on her own. She wanted to put her books down and change clothes before they walked to the dining hall for supper. She was thinking of one of the sweaters she bought before school started with her summer babysitting money. It was from Benetton and cost her 80 hours of childcare. It would finally be cold enough to wear, even just to the dining hall. Marvin might even be there. She'd noticed him in there before, even though he was old enough to live off campus. She was trying to think if she'd seen him with anyone, any girl, who seemed more serious than all the people, men and women, he was friendly with on campus. She hadn't asked Jackie if he had a girlfriend. Back in her room, Kim went over to Jackie's bookshelf and looked for the university yearbook Jackie had brought with her from her older sister's senior year at USD 2 years ago. Candace had been homecoming queen, and Jackie liked to tell her new college friends about that and show them the photo of Candace in the convertible at the parade. She paged to the H's for that year's sophomores looking for Honani. Nothing. Flipping to the index, she found his name in several page numbers. There he was among the 1983 juniors. That made him, what, at least 23, maybe older? So he was a fifth-year senior. Well, that happened a lot with all the credit hours required for graduation. If he had changed majors, he would even less likely to graduate in 4 years. She looked at his ping-pong portrait for a few more seconds. He was cute. This photo showed a more awkward Marvin than she had seen in the student union, a less authentic smile, his polo shirt not quite fitting, but still she could see his personality, a kind of electricity. Even in the black and white still shot, he seemed in motion. Kim felt she could see him thinking. She returned the annual to the shelf. She changed into the sweater with its alpine design and was happy it was warm enough outside that she wouldn't have to wear a jacket to cover it up. It was early in the year to wear a sweater with snow motifs. She sat down on her bunk bed to re-roll her jeans and slipped into her topsiders. Looking at her watch, she saw she still had at least half an hour to wait before going to dinner, and Jackie wouldn't be back for at least that. She went back to the shelf and removed the annual again, lying down on her stomach to page through it more carefully. She looked up the other pages for Marvin and found him in the Anthropology Honor Society and on the football team. That surprised her. He looked more natural in these photos. In the first black and white picture, he was seated on a couch in the student union, and though some of the students looked posed, he seemed to be caught in a candid moment of hanging out with his closest friends. His smile was wide and open. Was he laughing? He was wearing jeans and a Coyotes sweatshirt. In the second photo, he was in his football jersey and jeans in a team photo. There were probably 45 men in the picture, but to Kim, it looked like he was the whole point of the shot. He stood in the center and was taller than almost everyone around him. Broad, big, not fat though. Even though none of the players was smiling, Marvin looked a kind of happy serious, with his confident gaze at the camera, an energized stance, and a hint of a ready smile at the corners of his mouth. Kim turned back to the front of the yearbook and started at the beginning, scanning each page for Marvin, stopping when she noticed someone she had met at school, carefully taking in every photo. She was deep into the senior portraits when she heard the hallway door swish open on the carpet 3 doors down. She shut the book, jumped up, and replaced it. You changed. I love that sweater. Jackie's eyes appraised her. You can borrow it, but not until I wear it to classes a couple of times. You're the perfect roommate. Your clothes are so awesome. You're my size, and you share. Jackie laughed, putting down her backpack and pulling out a new bottle of pink polish. She held it up to Kim. You can use it, but not until I try it, she mimicked. She walked to her closet, opened it, and stood before her hanging clothes, t-shirts, sweatshirts, and shoes organized in stacked milk crates. I'm not dressing for dinner like you are. Will you be embarrassed to be seen with me? No, but I don't want to wait much longer. Kim was watching the clock. Service started about 10 minutes ago. She was trying to remember when she'd seen Marvin in the dining hall during other suppers. Was it later or earlier? You got a date or something? Jackie hadn't moved from staring into the closet. She didn't look at Kim as she spoke. Just hungry, Kim answered, sitting down at the built-in desk she occupied next to Jackie's closet and put away the textbooks, folders, and notebooks she had dropped there when she walked in. She tried to think about the homework she had to do tonight, World Civ 2 and composition reading, and she had to come up with some ideas for a how-to speech by 2 p.m. the next day. She saw Jackie pull off her pink sweater and reach for a t-shirt. She thought of her own rather flat chest and how she was barely into an A cup. Jackie really looked like a woman, filled out, as Kim's mother would say. Jackie had been the homecoming queen in her hometown, and she knew how to tease her bangs expertly, and always seemed to look like she meant to look that way, even in sweats. Kim watched Jackie, trying to learn her little secrets. She wanted to feel about herself and her own appearance the way she believed Jackie felt about herself. When they had gotten to the dining hall and through the line, Jackie found friends from her U.S. history class, Natalie and Angela, in the dining room and led Kim over to sit by them. They were from Lemon, which they explained to Kim was West River, pronounced as one word. The talk turned to their hometowns, and after Kim and Jackie said where they were from, Natalie started talking about her plans for the coming weekend. Are you going home? Jackie asked. She goes home almost every weekend, said Angela. Boyfriend. Yeah, you date a younger man too, Jackie leaned toward Natalie. How long is your drive? Jason's coming here this weekend, so glad I don't have to make the trip to Sisseton again. I have kind of a lot of homework. Like you're going to do any, Kim said. Are you going home too then? Natalie asked Kim. No, I don't have a car, Kim answered. She'll have to work around my existence. They all laughed and Kim smiled at Jackie. She's great. Jason and I have been dating for 3 years, said Jackie, poking with her fork through her mashed potatoes. We're not all hot and heavy. Just in love, said Angela. Of course. Jackie's smug smile unsettled Kim, who looked back at Natalie. How far is the drive? She asked Jackie's question again. More than 7 hours, and not much of it is on the interstate, said Angela. If you get behind some Farmer Bob, you're screwed. Last time I was behind this grandpa and his old beater for 45 miles, and it could not pass. I could have walked home faster than that. Driving around the res is not fun, and my mom gets mad if I'm there after dark. Natalie slid her plate away toward the edge of the table and relaxed back into her orange plastic chair. You have to be careful about drunks there. Of course, that's any time of day. Do you have Indian tribes around your towns? Kim said no, but Jackie said part of her drive was a few miles through the Sisseton-Wahpeton tribes' lands in the northeast. But it's not bad, nothing like what you're talking about, guys. She too pushed her plate away and leaned back. They were settling in to stay and chat a while. Kim hadn't seen Marvin yet, so she leaned back in her chair too. Do you have Indians where you're from, like in your high school? Angela asked. In Sisseton? Not in school, I mean there are Indians in town, but I don't know any of them. Jackie was frowning with her brows knit together. How about in Arlington, Kim? No, I mean, I don't think there are any Indian families in town. I never met any until I came to college. She thought of Marvin, felt the pink heat in her face, and bent down to rub a scuff mark off her shoe. Oh my God! Jackie reached across the table and grabbed Kim's arm. Tell them that joke you told me. Kim shook her head, frowning. What joke? The one about the dead Indian. Oh geez, we've heard a ton of those, said Angela. We've probably heard it, but try us, agreed Natalie. Kim remembered the joke she'd told Jackie a couple of weeks ago after hearing it at a high school football game. She looked at Jackie, trying to meet her eyes. Jackie saw her and nodded, answering aloud. No, really, it's funny, they'll love it. Kim turned her chair more toward the others and tried not to speak up too much. What's the difference between a dead deer that's been hit by a car and a dead Indian that's been hit by a car? Hey, I don't know this one, Natalie smiled and sat forward from her relaxed position. There are skid marks on the highway in front of the dead deer, Jackie yelled. Kim looked around, but no one was looking at them in the dining hall that was filling up with students for the 6 p.m. rush. Natalie and Angela laughed aloud, and Natalie sat back smiling. That's pretty funny. I'm going to have to tell my dad that one. I almost never have an Indian joke he hasn't heard before. Glad I could help, Natalie. Kim started to get up and put her napkins on her tray to deliver to the conveyor belt by the exit doors. I think I'm going to go. Are you coming? She asked Jackie. Jackie answered with a quick shake of her head and picked up her glass to drink the remaining pop through her straw. Outside it was dark, and Kim could feel winter's edge on the air. She looked forward to putting on her flannel pajamas in their quiet room. "Hey, I know it's South Dakota. It's not winter yet, Ski Bunny." Kim saw Marvin emerging from the darkness that crept in between the campus outdoor lights and the shadow of the dining hall. He looked as if he were stepping out of one of those yearbook photos in the gray evening haze, except he was noticeably older, more masculine, more of a man. Kim blushed and was grateful for the cover of the dim light. "Well, it is South Dakota. It could snow any minute, you know. I need to be prepared." "No, it looks great. I'm just giving you a hard time." He smiled and reached over and patted her shoulder. She was very conscious of where his hand had made contact with her body through the sweater. She wanted to put her own hand on it and touch him by proxy when he let his fall. "Did you eat already?" he asked, smiling. He smiled so much. "Yes, I've got to go figure out something for my how-to speech. I don't know how to do much." "You know how to dress for South Dakota." He started to move past her toward the entrance to the garden-level dining hall. "Tell Jackie hi for me." She waved to his back as he opened the door. She turned around and started again for her dorm. "Tell her yourself," she said to the dark campus. When Jackie got back about an hour later, Kim was wearing her flannel pajamas, lying on her bottom bunk with her World Civ text open against her bent knees. Jackie set about taking off jewelry, laying out her clothes for the morning, and getting ready for bed. She took out her pink polish and sat down at the desk next to the electric typewriter they shared and opened her manicure set. They both worked in quiet for about 5 minutes, when Kim, noticing her roommate's frequent glances toward her, asked her what was going on with her. "I know someone who wants to ask you out." "Who?" Kim spun around, lay on her stomach, and propped herself up on her elbows with her face angled up toward Jackie. The nail polish smell was even stronger here. She knew Marvin had probably just seen Jackie when he went in to eat. Had Jackie spent the past hour talking to him about her? "I forgot to tell you about him before. His name is Matt, and he's in my U.S. history class. He's from Lemon, too, so Angela and Natalie know him. He's a sophomore, or a junior." "How does he know me?" Kim lowered her gaze down to her hands for a breath or two, and rearranged her features into more excitement than she felt as she looked back up at Jackie. "That welcome freshman book we're all in. He saw your picture in there, and then he saw you with us at dinner tonight. He already liked you from your picture." She stopped talking while she scraped a mark of errant polish off her pinky, then looked back at her, her eyes bright and her smile wide and expectant. "Is he smart?" Jackie laughed back into Kim's smile. "Well, I think you're a smart ass. Yes, I think he really is, and he's pretty cute. We're supposed to make you wait tomorrow at dinner until he comes in so you can meet him." Jackie took a quick breath but said nothing. "What? What were you going to say?" "I already gave him our phone number, though. Don't be mad." Jackie moved her face close to Kim's. "I'm sorry." "I don't care, but I hope he doesn't call before I meet him. That's creepy." "Yeah, stalkerish," said Jackie. "You say that with absolutely no conviction," Kim said as she got up. "Now move. I have to type up my how-to speech ideas before I go to bed." After Kim typed her outline for how to put a toddler down for a nap, Jackie left to brush her teeth. The phone rang. Kim closed her eyes. Maybe I'll just let it go to the answering machine. She didn't want to talk to this Matt person before she knew who he was, or to Jason, who called at this time of night during the week. The beep after the outgoing message sounded, and she heard Marvin's voice through the speakers, more plastic than was in person, but she could still hear the smile. "Jackie and Kim, it's your friend Marvin." She snatched up the receiver. "Hey, Marvin, it's Kim. Jackie just stepped out for a second to brush her teeth." "I'm not calling for Jackie." Kim sat down on the chair in front of the typewriter and felt the cliche she was becoming with her racing heartbeat, burning cheeks, and involuntary smile. "Oh, yeah? Jackie said you're in Ross's anthro lecture this semester? That guy is a terrible teacher. I thought I'd see if you need any help. His tests are tough, and he does nothing to help you pass them." "Oh, and you can help me?" Kim goaded him. She picked up a paper clip and started working it into a straight line with her free hand. "I'm pretty sure I can. I'm applying to cultural anthropology programs for my master's next year. Of course, it's too early to know if I got in, but I'm told by people who know about these things that I'm a," what was the term? "Oh yes, a shoo-in." He laughed, and his boast rang more with joy than with bragging. They talked for about 20 minutes, first about her anthropology course, but then the conversation moved into what Kim had begun to recognize as the typical college get-to-know-you question battery. Where are you from? What is your major? What year are you? How do you know so-and-so? She knew some of these details about Marvin, and he knew some about her, but she did ask him where he was from. I came to Vermilion from Bismarck, but I'm really from Utah. Oh, you're not from the Dakotas? No, did you think I was Lakota? Kim was silent, not sure how to respond to the frank tribal question. I guess I assumed. She closed her eyes, feeling wrong. She straightened her back against the chair. Honani isn't really a Lakota name, you know, like Ironclad or Pretty Sounding Flute. Are you being serious? About what? Not being Lakota, or about those names? No, the names, of course. Pretty Sounding Flute? Sure, they have some doozies. I happen to like that one, but I'm Hopi, so I don't have a string of adjectives to navigate. Doesn't go with Marvin anyway, I don't think. He told her he'd moved to North Dakota his sophomore year of high school after his stepfather had moved back to be near his own parents in Bismarck and brought Marvin and his mom with him. She asked him where he liked living more. Oh, Utah's great, but I love USD. I've had a great time here. The door opened and Jackie walked in. When she said hi to her, Marvin said, "Hi, who?" She told him Jackie was back and he asked to talk to her for a quick minute. She covered the mouthpiece with her hand and held the phone out to Jackie, whispering, "Marvin." Jackie stopped in the doorway, turned the corners of her mouth down, shaking her head and extending her hand that wasn't holding her bathroom kit toward Kim and shaking it. "He's calling me now?" Continuing to whisper, Kim said, "He called me." In response to Jackie's surprised and sympathetic look, she said, "About anthropology?" "Whatever," Jackie said and walked back out the door, leaving it open to the hallway. "Sorry, she mumbled into the phone. "She busy performing nuclear fission?" Marvin asked, but the smile was gone from his tone. Someone called out to her and she went back down the hall, Kim answered. When she started the sentence, she didn't know how it would end and felt grateful it was coherent, though she didn't think it seemed very believable. "Well, I gotta go. I did wonder." "Yeah?" Kim was trying to stretch the phone cord far enough to look into the hall to see if she could get Jackie to come back in the room. "Did you want to go out to eat tomorrow night? You know, to Perkins maybe, instead of this dining hall food?" Kim stopped before she got to the hallway as she pulled the phone off the desk behind her and it struck the ground with a wounded half ring. "Hello? Hello? Yeah, I'm here. What's going on over there? Is it really nuclear fission? I feel a little bad now because I admit I was being sarcastic before." He sounded less confident than she had ever heard him. She thought of his black hair and olive complexion, his athletic body and his wide smile, his Hopi name. Was that better somehow than Ironclad? Or that other one? "Oh, that would be good, but I have a date tomorrow night," she answered. "It's really nice of you to ask me, though." She started to say, "Maybe another time," but she hesitated and he interrupted. "Oh yeah, that's cool. I didn't know you had a boyfriend," he answered, sounding far away from the handset, but she thought it might be her damaged phone. She thought again of his smile, all that energy. "Well, I better let you go," he said, not waiting for her to say goodbye. She heard the dial tone just as Jackie returned. "Did you get rid of him?" she asked, replacing all her bathroom things and straightening her homework on her desk, stopping to admire her pink nails. "I guess." She started to tell her about the invitation, but no words came out. "What are you going to wear tomorrow to dinner to meet Matt?" Jackie asked, swinging open Kim's closet doors and then her own. "You can borrow something if you want." "I don't know," said Kim, replacing the phone on the desk. "Why don't you help me choose?"
Thanks, Stacey. As an Iowa girl, that was near and dear to my heart. Supper, pop, it's all good. Okay, we're going to have a Q&A now, so if anyone in the audience has a question, you have a chance to ask. Megan, Stacey, both of them.
I'll have something
Sure.
for you for the short story. Is Sherman Alexie an influence of yours?
Okay, so the question is to Stacey, is Sherman Alexie an influence? And Sherman Alexie is a Native American author of both poetry and fiction.
That's a good question that I should ask myself. I have read the true story of Part-Time Indian, the novel. Maybe it isn't just the idea of writing about that, having read that. and kind of going back to that setting. That's a good one. I'm going to think more about that. Thank you.
I'm looking at my students who are here to learn about creative writing.
I would ask, Megan what the master's program at UCA has done for you as far as your writing.
UCA, Fayetteville.
Oh, Fayetteville. Well, I went to ask you. Sorry.
We'll have both of them answered.
Okay,
Like,
yeah,
what
the
is
master's program?
what does a master's program, a Master of Fine Arts, do for a student who wants to do more in creative writing? We'll start with Megan.
It gives deadlines. That's the main thing. As we were discussing earlier, I have to turn stuff in every week, so that means I write every week. Also, it's made me a lot more responsible because I'm a teacher now, which was very scary. But, just trying to, I don't know, I'm thinking about writing all the time. And so if you want to be a writer, I recommend going to graduate school for it because, you have to be serious after that. It took me a long time to get serious. But thank goodness it's 4 years long, so, I'm just always in the world of it. I'm teaching, writing, and I have to turn in assignments, basically. Yeah.
I wanted to go back to school because I work for myself and I have time. I have some flexibility to write, but I wasn't doing it. So I thought I would, and I didn't do it. So the deadlines. But also, I think once I got there, I realized you don't really know how education will change you. I mean, you go trying to do a certain thing, but then you learn things you didn't know, and you don't know what you don't know. And that's why you need professors and a community around you to help you read things you hadn't heard of, write things you didn't think you could write. And so I would have never written this story if I hadn't been in a program with a deadline and an assignment. So.
Yes.
This is for Stacey. Did you get a lot of your story, or was it from observations from the college?
Okay, the question is for Stacey on the short story. Is the inspiration from actually making observations on the college campus?
Yes, I was similar to Kim in that I lived in a town that was completely white. And so when I went to college, I met people of other ethnic groups and races I had never been around before. And I'm kind of naturally an observer. I don't jump in right away. So I was watching a lot of my friends and their different reactions to people different from them, or their stereotypes that they brought with them because they had been around those groups before. South Dakota is home to the most ethnically homogenous county in the United States. I think it's Germans from Russia or something. I mean, it can be very white. So to see those conflicts, even though they were very subtle, most of the time they were very subtle, but it was new to me. So I think as an observer, it helped me see it in a new way. So absolutely, yes.
Anybody else?
It's clear that both of you took a lot of your inspiration from your own lives, from your grandfather, and college experience. Kind of following up on the Cheryl Lexington question, what writers have influenced you?
I'm sorry?
What writers have influenced you the
Okay.
most?
So the question is for both Megan and Stacey, and an observation that their writing seems to draw a lot on their personal lives. But now, what writers have influenced you as you've started to work on your own writing?
I think for short stories, I've been influenced a lot by Alice Munro. I don't like to read short stories because you just get into the whole world and know the characters and then it ends. So then you have to start all over. So I'd rather read Middlemarch or something where I'm with them for a long time. But Alice Munro is really such a master of the short story, and I also really admire her restraint and how nuanced and subtle her prose is. There's not a lot of melodrama. And even when things are dramatic, what comes from them is usually not dramatic and just kind of goes along. So I've been influenced by that, and I think for novelists, for longer fiction, I've been influenced a lot by Kazuo Ishiguro. He's one of my favorite writers, and who has a lot of restraint, even though his prose is very emotional, which is the art, I think. And Graham Greene, who's, I think, also a very subtle, nuanced writer with a lot of restraint.
So, I don't know. With regard to like my background and growing up, I would like to be able to claim, I'm just going to claim that all the songs that my dad used to play, like country and folk songs, kind of, I don't know, they gave me like permission to write in dialect, for instance. But the first poet that I really like connected with was Edgar Lee Masters when I read the Spoon River Anthology, which is just like a bunch of monologues coming from a graveyard. So it's like all the dead people kind of saying their piece, and it's amazing. And then there's a Kentucky poet named Morris Manning. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he's the best in the whole wide world. And I stalked him all the way to Vermont this summer and had to work with him. And he really changed my writing when I read him 2 years ago as well. And Davis McCombs, the director of the program at Fayetteville, was also from Kentucky and writes about kind of the hills and caves and stuff like that. So those guys, those old men.
Okay, I'm going to ask Stacey and Megan to go ahead and have a seat over here, and in just a minute when we finish up, you'll have a chance to come up and talk to them one-on-one, shake their hand, thank them for being here, get their autograph, all those fan things, you know. As poets and writers, we have to get groupies whenever we can, so you're it tonight. Before we do that, if you would please fill out your pink survey. And when you exit, please exit out this door right here, and Zach, who is sitting right outside, is going to pick up those pink surveys. But before we get to that, if you'd look in your program, please check and see if you have a golden ticket. Does anyone have a oh, Stephanie's got a golden ticket. Yeah. Oh, look, there's another one. There's one in the back. All right, golden tickets. You'll see that they say, congratulations, you've won a free book. And what we have is a new and slightly used bookstore over here. And if you have a golden ticket, you are free to come up and select one of the volumes we have. All you have to do is leave your golden ticket on the chair next to them. It's sort of the honor system tonight. But go ahead and take some time to browse through the titles and pick one out that you think will make you happy. I definitely want to thank you all for coming out again tonight. In the program, you'll see our February event is announced, and we have one of the writers for the February event here tonight, Dr. John Vanderslice. So a little preview. So thanks, and I hope you come up and say hello to Megan and Stacey. We'll just give them one last big hand for their work tonight.